Hey friends, I hope y'all are having a great day today. If you're new here, my name's Alicia and today's video is a little different. Normally with my grocery challenges, I assume that you only have salt, pepper, and oil on hand, or anything that I add to it is optional and it won't make or break the way that the recipe turns out. But with each challenge, I'm left over with at least something, and I always wanted to come up with a way to kind of use the things left over. And I know that sometimes we'll have stuff left in the pantry, freezer, fridge, or, if you go to a food bank, you're going to get probably a little bit of random things that probably won't equal a full meal plan for a week. So I gave myself the leftovers from the challenges, a few things from my fridge, a few random things from my freezer, along with my spice cabinet and any condiments that we had, because those are usually always optional for recipes, or they probably always are. And I gave myself a $50 budget to feed my family of 7 for 1 week. As always, if you or your family are struggling for food, please reach out and get help. Y'all deserve to be fed. Everyone deserves to have food. I recently found out that 211 also works in Canada, so if you live in the US or in Canada, you can call 211 and they'll get you a full list of resources available to you. I hope y'all enjoy. Here's a look at everything that we got. This half is from Walmart, this half is from Kroger, less the milk, that's from the gas station. So here we have a thing of broccoli florets, a thing of sliced mushrooms that are frozen, a pound of carrots, a few Roma tomatoes, 3 bell peppers, 1 red, yellow, and then 1 orange. These were on sale. A 3-pound bag of Cuties, a thing of corn chips, a taco seasoning mix, ranch mix, a pound of garden rotini, and then a thing of raisins. These weren't the best price ever, but they were cheaper than buying a big container, of course. So then we got 2 loaves of bread. We've got a thing of alfredo sauce, a can of cream of mushroom, and then this is a bag of freebies, and I'll show that here in just a minute. And then this gallon of milk came from the gas station, because a lot of the gas stations around me have $1.99 milk. And then we got a thing of plain Greek yogurt, or not Greek yogurt, just plain yogurt, low fat I can't talk today, low fat yogurt. And then here is a thing of peanut butter filled pretzels. Those are just a treat. One of my kids, all of my kids like them, but one of my kids especially really loves them. We got a thing of onions. This is 3 pounds. Some bananas. We got 2 of these 4 packs of corn. A 4-pack of green beans. Let me see if I can use my other hand. Yeah, green beans. And then we got a can of pineapples. A can of whole plums and heavy syrup. I've never seen these before. Usually I try to get things packed in like 100% fruit juice or something like that, or like just juice or water. We got a 2-pound block of sharp cheddar cheese. We got this, let's do the pork loin first. This pork loin, and they had it on sale this week for $1.99 a pound, and it was $5.61, and it is almost 3 pounds. It's 2.82 pounds. And then this I found on markdown. I usually try not to get seasoned chicken, but because it was only $3.35 and I do plan to use it very soon, I went ahead and got it. And this is 3.5 pounds, 3.49. And so now let's look at the freebies. Alright, so the TV got a little bit too loud in the end part, so I'm just going to voice it over. We got an Airwick plug-in thingy, a full-size bottle of magnesium citrate gummies, a dude wipe, flushable wipe, a electrolyte fizzy drink tablet in the flavor of lemon lime, some cheese crispers that were gone the second that I quit recording because my kids love those, and then a sample of liquid aminos, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then after that, just some information pamphlets left in the bottom. So here's just a brief glance at most everything that I'm allowing myself to use. There are several things on this table, or a few things at least on this table, that I didn't use at all. I also did not pull out like all of my condiments or spices. So we have potatoes left over from the Walmart and the Kroger challenge. That is shrimp queso that I've had in my freezer forever. I still did not use it. And then those are 2 bags of frozen tomatoes. They were canned originally, and I only needed half of a big can. A bag of frozen rice. I prefer just to make rice fresh. I don't know why I even froze it, but it's in my freezer for a while. 2 packages of breakfast sausage. I only used 1, but I found those like over a year ago on a good sale. Some beef liver that we were accidentally given in a Walmart pickup order. This is the end of a 10-pound box of bacon. It's been in our freezer forever because it's just little tiny nubs of bacon. We didn't use it. And then this is a thing of frozen strawberries. It's actually expired. It's been in my freezer for quite a while now. I had half a box of instant mashed potatoes left over from the Dollar General challenge. I had oats left over from my $35 challenge and from the Walmart challenge. The ramen is from the Dollar General challenge. Some are without seasoning, some are with, but 5 packets total. Peanut butter and jelly. Half a pound of pinto beans from the Dollar General one, and then a full pound of kidney beans from the Dollar Tree. I know I had some rice left over from the Kroger one. I can't remember which other one. Some taco seasoning from the Walmart one. Flour and yeast from Kroger, and along with the egg. The rest of those eggs were just left over in my fridge. And I don't think I used all of those in this challenge, but just a brief glance. So we're going to start off the night before day 1, actually, because I'm doing a little bit of preparing the night before. So I am making a cinnamon raisin bread, but for the dough part, I am just making half of the bread dough recipe that I normally use. I will leave it linked in the description box. But instead of egg, I'm using instant mashed potatoes that are already prepared. And I just made up enough potatoes for this recipe. But once I get my bread all kneaded and everything, I'm going to set it to the side and let it rest while I work on the filling. For the filling part, I'm just doing half a cup of brown sugar with a good bit of cinnamon and 3 boxes of the raisins. My kids wanted the other 3 boxes to eat, so I just let them have them. My youngest is too young for me to comfortably give her raisins yet, so that's why I only needed 3 boxes. If she was old enough to have her own box, I would have just used 2 boxes of raisins and it would still turned out great. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to roll out my dough, put the mixture on top, and then roll it up. And once I get it all rolled up, I'm going to put it on my sheet tray and put some plastic wrap over it and let it rest overnight. I lost my loaf pans whenever we moved. I have no idea what happened to them, but if I would have used a loaf pan, then this would have turned out even better than it did, I think. But it still turned out really pretty, and of course it tasted phenomenal, which is really all that matters in my opinion. But like I said, I'm gonna set this on a sheet tray and let it rest overnight. And then we are going to move on to the next item that I am preparing the night before, which is homemade yogurt in the Instant Pot. So I am taking the entire gallon of milk and I'm just going to put it in my Instant Pot. You see me use the ring there. Yeah, I took that back off because I remembered that you're not supposed to use it because you don't need, it's not going to pressurize. And I need to find the boil function. I've never made yogurt before in my Instant Pot or at all ever. But you just press the boil button, and whenever it says yogurt, you check it with a thermometer. It needs to get up to 184. So if it doesn't reach 184, you need to press the saute button and just let it saute for a little while until it gets up to 184. I think mine said 182 there, but I did make sure it got up to 184. So once you get to 184, you set it on the counter, and then you let it rest until it gets down to at least 116, but no lower than 110, and then add in half a cup of plain yogurt. It needs to be plain with the cultures, and then you put it back in and set it to the 8-hour yogurt function. So now we are on day 1, very early in the morning. The yogurt is complete now, and you can either strain the whey off, which is the liquid that you'll see in just a second, or you can do what I did and stir it in and just have a thinner yogurt. I call it the lazy route, which is the one that I took. And then here's the cinnamon raisin bread. Whenever I took the plastic wrap off, it deflated a little, but I baked it, and it turned out so good. Delicious. For breakfast on day 1, we had the cinnamon raisin bread along with the remaining carton of the low-fat yogurt, the one that I used as a starter for the big container of yogurt. And then we had some of the frozen strawberries on top that I, of course, thawed overnight. And this was delicious. That raisin bread was so good, and my kids snacked on it for a couple days. For lunch on day 1, we did sandwiches with bell peppers and oranges. I think I made some carrot sticks, and then some of the peanut butter pretzels, and I just gave my youngest a couple crackers. So for dinner on night 1, my husband is actually cooking, and my stovetop is a wreck. I know. But I know y'all are also so kind that y'all can ignore it for one little tiny segment of the show. So he started off with half of the package of mushrooms, a full chopped onion, half the pound of ground beef, and he's just cooked that up. Then he's going to add in some carrots. He's also cooked all 5 of the packets of ramen on the side without any seasoning packets. Once he gets the meat mixture cooked up, he's going to add it to the noodles, give it a mix, and set it to the side while he scrambles 4 eggs. And on the side, he also has some broccoli boiling up. He said he just added salt, pepper, and a little bit of butter to them. Now that he's got the eggs done, he's going to add those back to the noodles. And then he's going to add some soy sauce, and then in a second, he also adds some 1,000 Islands, and I had no clue that that's what he used to season this until after I watched this and was editing it. But it tasted really good. I added sriracha to the top of mine. So now we're on day 2, and for day 2 breakfast, I made sausage gravy and biscuits, and I've made videos for both of these, so I will link them in the description box for y'all. For lunch on day 2, my husband made some loaded fried potatoes. He fried potatoes with bell peppers and onions, just a little bit of bell pepper, not much. And then he put cheese and ranch and hot sauce on the top, and it was really good. For dinner on night 2, I made like a taco chili type thing. So I took the other half of the pound of ground beef along with a couple of tomatoes, the onion, half of the yellow bell pepper, and some garlic. I can't remember if I already said garlic. But in my Instant Pot on the side, I have half the pound of pinto beans and half of a pound of the red kidney beans, and they're fully cooked. So once I get everything kind of sauteed, I'm going to add that meat and veggie mixture to the Instant Pot. Then I'm going to add in some taco seasoning, the ranch seasoning. For the ranch seasoning, they actually started putting them in plastic packages, and there's no tear tab, so I had to get out my scissors to open it. But anyways, after I add that in, I'm going to add in a can of corn along with both of the bags of the frozen tomatoes that I showed y'all in the beginning. And one of those is like a tomato sauce or crushed tomatoes. And then the other one is a petite diced tomato. And they're just both half of those big cans. I only needed like a little can's worth. So I just froze the rest that way it didn't go to waste. So once I get the tomato frozen blocks pushed down a little bit, I'm going to add in 2 bouillon cubes. One is tomato, one is chicken. And then I'm going to push those down a little bit and pressure cook this for 5 minutes. I don't show it, but after it's done pressure cooking, I do add salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. I just forgot to show that. And here's what it looks like after it is done pressure cooking. It is so good. We served corn chips, cheese, and some tomatoes on top. And my husband made fried potatoes for night 1 to go with it. The last thing I'm doing on day 2 is I'm making some granola for the next day's breakfast. So I've got almost 3 cups of oats, and to that I'm going to add some syrup that I've just made out of brown sugar and water. And once it sits in the fridge overnight, it turns into like a pancake syrup. About a half a cup of that, about a 1/4 cup of oil, and then some cinnamon. I just eyeballed everything. I put it on a sheet tray, baked it in the oven for 400 for about 25 minutes. So now we're on day 3, and for breakfast we had yogurt parfaits. I put some yogurt, I put a little bit of that brown sugar syrup, just a little bit, and then I took the plums. They actually had the seeds still in them, which I wasn't expecting. I took the pits or seeds out of them and chopped them up, and then put some of the juice and some of the chopped up plums and then some granola over the top, and it was so good. Everyone loved it. For lunch on day 2, we had cheese fries. We could have put bacon on them, but I didn't feel like making bacon. But we just made some homemade fries and put some cheese over the top. And I think one of my kids put ranch on top of hers. I think another kid just had everything separated, like the fries and then the cheese, and then had some ketchup to dip the fries in. We also had some fruit. I took this picture from an old video. Dinner on night 3 is something that I did not originally plan to make. So on day 1, whenever I went to cook the chicken, it was already spoiled. Like part of it was gray and it just didn't smell good. And as much as I hate food waste, I also am not going to get my family sick. So I took half of the pork loin. Originally, I just planned to kind of have half the pork loin to kind of put in the freezer and have for a later meal. But I cubed half of it up, put it in the pressure cooker with some seasonings and a little bit of water so it could come up to pressure. And then I cubed up a couple potatoes. And this was after the pork had sat for about 20 minutes being done. So I've cubed those up. I'm giving them a good wash. If I would have thought ahead, I probably would have let those dry for probably about 5 to 10 minutes just so they could kind of let all the water out, or, get all the water off of them, or at least pat them dry. Anywho, so I've got some oil in my pan. At first, I had way too much, but I take most of that away. I'm going to dice up half an onion to put in there with my potatoes. And then once I get the potatoes and onions soften just a little bit, I'm going to add in my pork and let that kind of cook for just a little bit. And then I will add in the broth to kind of cook the potatoes the rest of the way and get everything steamed. And that part may have been a mistake because then my potatoes kind of broke down a little bit more than I was hoping they would. It still turned out great. It tasted really good. On the side, I am also making some carrots. I just chopped them up and boiled them with some salt, pepper, and butter. But once I cook everything together for a while and the potatoes are done, I add in a little bit of sriracha, some onion powder, garlic powder, and I think I add Cajun two-step and Danos because that's what I added to the pork. I also add in a few cloves of minced garlic. There's the sriracha. That was actually off-brand sriracha because, sriracha's been on a shortage lately, and I found Kroger brand sriracha, and it's not exactly the same, but it's very comparable in my opinion. So if y'all run out of sriracha like I did and y'all need to get more, then you might look into the Kroger brand. I don't think Walmart has a great value brand, but they might. I don't know. But anyways, you can kind of see where everything got kind of mushy, but here's what it looked like. It was really good, although it doesn't look good. So we are on day 4, over halfway through the week already. So for breakfast, we're doing parfaits again, and we had some strawberries left over from day 1. So what I did is I chopped up 2 or 3 of the bananas and added them in there with the strawberries because I figured the strawberry juice would coat the bananas. So at our local Chinese buffets, it used to be like this. I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have like strawberry syrup covered bananas, and so that's where I got this idea from. And then I'm also just going to put some of the granola on top, and it's done. And this was really good. This was probably my favorite and my kids' favorite. So for lunch, I'm just showing y'all my kids' lunch on this day. I actually had leftovers. My husband took a sandwich to work with him, and that's what he typically likes to bring to lunch. Either that or meat, cheese, and crackers, kind of like a Lunchable. Anyways, so I'm starting out by chopping up the red bell pepper into little slices, and then I'm going to build their sandwiches. 3 of my kids had peanut butter and jellies, and 1 of my kids likes to have a meat and cheese sandwich. But if we wouldn't have had lunch meat already, then she would have happily had like a grilled cheese. She loves those too. Or she also likes peanut butter and jelly on occasion. And if you're wondering why one of the plates does not have bread on it, it's because 2 of my kids are so little that they can easily share a sandwich right now. But there was more than plenty that if they ended up being hungrier, then they absolutely could have had another sandwich and I would have gladly made it for them. You'll notice that I start my kids off with smaller amounts, and it's not to, restrict them at all. It's just because I don't like food waste. So what I like to do is start them off with less, and if they are hungrier, then they know that they are more than welcome to grab more. And then if they're not so hungry, then we don't end up having waste. That we also keep, like the rest of the bell pepper, we just kind of had it off to the side. We put it in a container and they could snack on it throughout the day. I also split 1 orange between all 4 of them. Again, that's just because of the food waste, but I did go ahead and peel and kind of divide up another 1 or 2 oranges, I think it was. Those Cuties seemed like they were huge. It felt like 1 cutie was like the size of 2. And I know technically I didn't get pretzels this week. I used pretzels from my cabinet. And then I gave one of my kids crackers because I'm not comfortable with her having pretzels. For dinner on night 4, we're doing creamy pork loin, which is one of my family's favorite meals. So I'm starting out with the other half of the pork loin, and I'm putting 2 ramen seasoning packets on top because we had those in the cabinet, and I think that they're very comparable to bouillon powders. Then on top of that, I'm adding onion powder, garlic powder, some paprika, salt, pepper, some Cajun two-step, and then I will put it's 6 ounces out of 8 ounces, so 3/4 of a block of cream cheese. We just had it in the fridge for a while now, and then on top of the cream cheese, I'm also going to add a can of cream of mushroom. If you don't have the cream cheese, you can just leave it out and just do a can or 2 cans of cream of mushroom. At the end, I actually added some water to kind of thin out the gravy a little bit because it was thicker than it normally is. I think the reason that it was thicker this time is because usually I start out with a frozen pork loin versus this time it was thawed. So you can see after it cooks on high for about 5 hours, it is just so tender and it's so good. It may not look very good, but it is delicious. Usually we just have rice on the side with some green beans, but on this night I made mashed potatoes too. So I forgot to get a picture this night before we started eating, so that's why the plate looks a little bit mangled and not put together. But like I said, even though this doesn't look like the most appetizing meal, you've got to try it because it's so good. Alright, so now we're on day 5. For breakfast, originally I was going to make breakfast burritos and make my own tortillas, but then I didn't feel like making tortillas. So I looked up some recipes and I came across a sausage ball recipe, which led me to search for one that didn't require baking mix. I've never had or even made sausage balls, or I guess I should say I've never made or even had sausage balls, but I didn't turn these into balls because I didn't want to roll them out. I just flattened it into a round cake pan. But anyways, it's super simple. All you need is sausage, flour, baking powder, cheese, and some seasonings. I use salt, pepper, paprika, onion powder. I think that was it. But anyways, it looks very crumbly. Like I said, I've never made or had these before, so I don't know if it's supposed to be super crumbly or not. But I mixed it up, got it well mixed, and then I put it in my cake pan and flattened it out with a measuring spoon, and then baked it in the oven at the recommended temperature for around the recommended time. I think I let mine go a little bit longer because I'm making like an entire cake pan instead of just little balls. This tasted amazing, so delicious. For lunch, I made some grilled PB&Js. If you've never had these, they're amazing. And then I let them have some pretzels, some fruit, and some chopped bell peppers on the side, and it was delicious. For dinner on night 5, we did loaded baked potatoes. I took the leftover taco chili and I baked some potatoes, put the taco chili, some cheese, and some of the leftover corn chips on top, and it was delicious. I actually put a little bit more taco chili in my bowl, but that way y'all could tell there was a baked potato in there. I left it like this for the picture. But yeah, it was delicious. Alright, day 6. So for breakfast on day 6, I made banana ice cream, but instead of using milk or water to kind of get it to a frosty consistency, I'm using some of the yogurt. So it's kind of like a froyo banana ice cream maybe. I also add some hot cocoa powder because we didn't have any plain cocoa powder and the yogurt's plain, so I figured the sweetened cocoa powder would help things along, and it was delicious. For lunch on day 6, I had some of the taco chili leftovers, and there was actually a couple of baked potatoes left, so I split that, like chopped it up. I didn't take a picture, but it was pretty much the same thing from the night before. For dinner on night 6, I'm making something I've never made before, which is that beef liver. I'm doing liver and onions, or liver and onion gravy, and I'm serving it over mashed potatoes, which I ended up messing up the mashed potatoes and making them way too thin, but nonetheless, we ate. It was delicious. It's not something I would make all of the time. I will admit that to y'all. However, in every single recipe for beef liver that I looked up, they all recommended soaking the liver in milk prior to actually using it. All of them highly recommended doing that. They said that it helped it so much. Ignore my mess on the counter. I'll clean it up. But anyways, after I cook it in the pressure cooker and let it sit all day, I add in a cornstarch slurry to thicken it up. And there it is, all thickened up. And you can see the very thin baby puree mashed potatoes. We are on day 7, the final day. For breakfast, I am making waffles. You can also use this recipe for pancakes or sheet tray pancakes. Originally, I found this from Miranda, from Flourishing Miranda. Although whenever I found it, I think her channel name was still running on plants. I will try to find the video that she makes this in and link it. If I can't, then I am still going to link her channel. But anyways, you start out with 2 cups of flour. I'm not sure if we make ours exactly the same. And then you add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. I add a splash of vanilla, and then 2 tablespoons roughly of apple cider vinegar. You can also use lemon juice or regular vinegar. And then you just want to add enough water to get it to the consistency that you like. Usually I find that I have to add equal parts flour and water. And then I'm just going to give my waffle iron a spritz and then add a 1/4 cup to each side. I like to do 1/4 cup for either my waffles or for my pancakes. You can see these turn out really awesome. You can't even tell that they're budget waffles. My kids love these the same as like a boxed pancake or a regular pancake. They're delicious. And on the side, I've just got some mini yogurt parfaits and fruit. I just put syrup and granola on the top of the yogurt. Lunch on day 7 was egg drop soup. And if I would have planned to make this, then I would have saved my chicken bouillon from the past days, but I ran out of just regular chicken bouillon. So the color is way off. I'm well aware of that. But the taste was spot on. And that's what matters. Although I know it looks weird. Just pretend it looks like it's supposed to. So I started off with 3 cups of water. And then I added some garlic powder and ginger powder along with 2 of the tomato bouillon cubes and a little bit of salt. Brought that up to a boil. Added a cornstarch slurry. And I also whisked 2 eggs in a bowl on the side, and you need to slowly whisk them in. I think that's why my eggs broke up too much, is because you can see I'm just whisking way too fast. Even at regular speed for this video, it was way too fast, so the eggs broke up. You also want to have the heat off at this point. I'm going to link the video that I found this in the description box. And then at the end, you just put in or chop up a couple of green onions. I can't talk. I'm so sorry. But like you can see, the color way off here. We're nowhere near egg drop soup color, but we're spot on for egg drop soup taste, because I realized the tomato bouillon tastes the same. It tastes so good. For dinner on night 7, we were supposed to have chicken alfredo, but we ended up still technically having chicken alfredo. We had a few chicken nuggets left over in the freezer. I just went ahead and baked those up and chopped them up to put on top, but it was supposed to be the chicken that I purchased. Anyways, so we got alfredo sauce, garden rotini, some green beans, and then I made some garlic toast. I just boiled the noodles, put the alfredo sauce in. I made the green beans on the side, made the garlic toast. Like I said, the chicken nuggets, that was just one chicken nugget on top of my plate there. It's delicious. I mean, you cannot go wrong with alfredo. Would homemade alfredo sauce taste better? Absolutely. Did this one taste bad? Not at all. It was delicious. Alright, guys, that was everything. I hope this inspired or helped you out in some way, or I hope that y'all just enjoyed it. Always remember that Jesus loves y'all, and I love y'all too. I hope y'all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.